Prompt builders are everywhere right now. Pick a camera, pick a lens, pick a style, generate cinematic images, simple concept, powerful results. But here's what nobody tells you. It's literally just a formula. Subject plus style plus camera plus settings equals prompt. That's it. So in this video, I'm showing you how to build your own from scratch, not using someone else's tool. Building yours in Airtable completely free, and once you understand how it works, you can extend it to whatever workflow you want. Add characters, add locations, batch, generate entire shot lists. No limitations, your system that does exactly what you need. 1 week ago, I came across this creator, and I've watched this video here. And he made me realize one thing: simplicity is key. So if you have followed my channel for a while, we have built those kinds of things already. In today's video, we will rebuild this exact same setup, but in a way that you can rebuild it wherever you like. Whether it's Notion or Airtable or any software you like, you can use the same principles wherever. I'm teaching you how you can rebuild this. Of course, I don't want to take any credit. If you like a ready-to-use setup, then just purchase his product. But why I believe you might want to reconsider rebuilding it yourself is because of flexibility, because you truly own the data and you can truly customize it without any limitations. Let's be honest, everyone has different needs. If we look at the comments here, people are asking basically, allow me to save the setups. It would be great for this transition. Of course, it's impossible to fulfill everyone's desire, but let's start from the beginning. So what are we building? In a nutshell, it's just a prompt builder. We have predefined styles and can render images based out of it. It's basically just this formula here that we can then change and also adjust to our liking. So for example, we have here Ari Alexa 65. If we would change now the camera to, let's just say, Sony FX6, look at the prompt, how it's changing now. It's changing those variables. So before we are starting to build this base, let's just be clear here. It's just a simple formula. We have a style, subject, environment, and all combined basically spits out a formula where you can interchange like the movie, the character, the style. Once you understand this principle, you're able to really customize it and own the data. So there is no more I wish, you can just build it. To demonstrate how simple it is, let's just start simple here. So here we can select the camera body. Let's keep it super obvious, super 8mm for now, and generate it here inside of Air. And here we go, we have the image and it has this 8mm vibe. We have the grain here. Of course, we have not been specific, but let's keep the prompt the same. This time we are just choosing different settings. And let's just select those settings here. So in terms of the look, let's just choose Dune with 65mm and a Panavision C-series anamorphic. Now, as we can see, the prompt has been created, which by the way, we can always copy and use a different provider. But now let's regenerate or create a new image here. And here we go. We have a new version. As we can see, we have this Dune vibe. We have the anamorphic lens here. And basically the prompt is exactly how we want it to be. Now keep in mind, everything we're doing is customizable. All right, if you're asking, but where is the point now? Let's just go to ChatGPT and ask it for a shot list. And now let's just copy the shot list. Here inside, we can now paste in those shots. Of course, you should always read them first. Let's press continue now. While we can always apply a predefined filter and automations, let's keep it simple here. Now we want to copy the exact same style we defined before. And now let's just apply them to our shots and use the same character image here to generate all those single items here. This can be fully automated, so you do not have to press on every shot. And here we go, the first images are already popping up. We have all our shots. Again, I was not reading them, it was all random, but we just applied the same style here. Maybe this image here is not looking as great, but I would say 80 to 90% is actually already looking decent. Let's just have another view here. And here we have our shot list. Random request to ChatGPT. We just copy the same style. We have here a consistent character. Keep in mind, you can also infuse it with a correct environment. That's something we have not specified. All right, before we start, I released this start guide or start template. If you're too lazy to build it and just want to use it as it is, just check out the link down below. So let's just start to build this one. All right, we are building this inside of Airtable. And yes, Airtable has a free account, but they only include 500 AI credits. The free plan already gives you up to 1000 records, more than enough for most use cases. So you can just test Airtable for free. Again, like link is in the description, and you can build the same setup with every tool you have. So once you understand the principles, you can even build this inside of Notion or ClickUp or whatever tool you are using. So when you are entering Airtable, this is probably one of the first things you are seeing. They have now Omni as their AI assistant. It helps you already to speed things up. And you can definitely play around with this. You can use a prompt like this here, but to be honest, I would not recommend using it. Why? Because in this video, we are talking about how you can create this from scratch to really understand what's going on under the hood. I believe it's better that you recreate this from scratch so that you can also customize it the way you want. But assuming you want to go the shortcut, let's use this prompt here and let's see what Omni came up with. All right, let's kick things off with the fundamentals of Airtable. Feel free to skip this section if you're already familiar with how to use it. So all we are doing now is saying, build this for us. And this was what Airtable built here. The issue is maybe on the surface, it's looking like a decent board here. But the problem is you are decluttering everything you don't need while it's looking okay on the surface, because now you have the bases, the connections, and everything is looking fantastic. This is not the way I would recommend you to build it. Instead, let's start from the scratch here. And if you are new to Airtable, I'm not making a comprehensive Airtable tutorial here, but it should be fine enough to understand all the basics. Down below, we can create a new base, but this time we are building it from scratch. So at the top corner, we can add a new table. So we can have table 1. Now we can create another table. Let's just call it table 2. We can create another table, and let's just call it table 3. Now, up here, we can create fields. So we have here all those fields options. Again, this is not a beginner Airtable tutorial, but just fine enough that you understand all the basics here. So let's just create a field and name it prompt. The prompt here. And now let's just create another field. This time we are utilizing their AI and we want to create an image. So create and generate an image. Now we just select the model. Let's select the model here. We can give it instructions, but we don't do this. Instead, let's just use here prompt. And now we can insert a field here and use the prompt field we just created. That's basically how you could create your first AI image here. Let's just name it AI image. Based on the prompt, an image will be generated. Let's give it a simple prompt connected to this field and we can run the agent. And without any further settings, we have generated now our image. No style, no camera, no prompt. It is looking like it is looking here. So that's how you can create your fields, and you can see how simple it was to generate images here. I will explain more details in a bit. Now, of course, you can rename each field, every table here. Rename, and you can of course give this entire base here also a name. So we can call it simple prompt base. Okay, now we know how we can change the name. We have our data, but of course this is not looking so nice. We can customize it. But first, let's understand what else we can do. Here inside we have automations. We can configure all the automations inside. We will go straight into the interface view here because we can now connect the data with a visual interface here. So we can ask AI to help us, but I would really suggest to build it yourself to play around with it. So let's just build something from scratch here. And let's just keep the name same. Now let's select the list view and our table. Here we go. Now we have our first interface view. And of course, now we just have to adjust the fields here. So what do we want to see? We want to deselect all, delete all the fields we don't need. But now we just want to see the image and the prompt. We then want to rearrange it and maybe give this field another name. There are two ways. We can either enable directly writing the name here or allow it by opening the details of this field. So if we open that, we have now this view, which we can then start to customize. I want the image to be on the left side and all my details here on the right side. But let's just say we don't need all those other fields here. So let's just delete them because all we need here is our name and our prompt. You see how simple it was? Let's call it first prompt. Now we have customized our view, we have our prompt, we have our agent here. Now let's do the same thing, but this time with another prompt. Now let's create another image. Maybe we have here another dune image. Without any style, we can create our first image with the prompt here. Inside, we can specify a name. So second prompt. And now you have your second image. Let's have a look how it's looking. Yep, not good, but no worries, we're getting there. Now you saw this is really an oversimplification. You have, of course, way more options here, which you can change. Now let's just publish this interface because now you can work inside here and you have your first interface. Again, think of it like your first shot list where you can enter the prompt, you have the image. Now, if you want to add more views, you can add them by just adding new interface views. Let's say you want the storyboard view. All you need to do is press on gallery view, select again your table, rename, and now you have your gallery view. Here we just have to specify where are the images coming from. And here we go. And now all we need to take out are all the unnecessary fields here. And this is already looking like a storyboard app. I hope this oversimplification here was already giving you a grand overview. Now let's understand the schema here and why we are building it the way we are building. So if you have no experience building a database, whether it's Notion or Airtable, this all might sound complicated, but I'm really trying to explain it as simple as possible. What we want to have are 3 different tables: a cinematic options table, a shot list table, and an asset table. Though we can skip the assets table as that would add more complexity. But why would we separate those two? Why can't we just create maybe a shot list table and save all the options inside the shot list? So now this is how your table is looking. We can select the single select option. And here, let's just give it 2 options, Ari, Alexa, and Red. And now let's just say we would create another field. So let's just do 35 and maybe 50. So we could ask the AI something like, please do now like prompt plus camera plus lens, but write it as an image prompt. Let's see if it's understanding what we're asking for. Here we go. This is already looking better. Like this was all created by AI. Prompt, shot on camera, if we have a lens. Okay, now we save it and this is already looking quite good, right? So shot on Ari Alexa with a 35mm lens. So I think you get the point. We can now extend this further and further. Okay, but now the big question, why should we separate this? Now, linked records are actually the hardest part to understand when you are building Airtable. Yes, even harder than automations and all of that. Because to use that correct, you really have to understand what you're doing. But I'm trying to really oversimplify this here. In order to understand, let's maybe go back and do something non-film related. Let's say you are working for a company and this company would be Nike or Apple. Now, this company, of course, contains departments like marketing, engineering, and sales. So the marketing department relates to this company. The person, Alice, is relating to marketing. Of course, all of them are working for the same company, but all those people, they are working for a different department. So we have those relationships. Now, why does this matter? So let's just say we would put everything in one table. Not only would the table be extremely big because we would contain all the details we need from the people, like the phone number maybe, where she's living, her email address. But then also we have all the department details, like the marketing department details, what the department is all about, where to find what documents, and so on. But then also we have the company details. So we would have a huge table. In order to make it simpler, really, we have a dedicated table. So we have less fields. But not only that, if we click, for example, on one department, we see all the relationships. Who's working in this department? Now, again, this is an oversimplification and we will not dive in deeper now. But think of this in terms of film now. You have a scene and maybe that scene contains multiple shots. So shot 1, 2, 3. So let's just say this would be scene 1 here. Now, every scene maybe has different camera settings. And in order for us to understand how many shots we have had, we can do the same thing. We can just click on this camera maybe, and we see with one click all the relationships, like this camera here, Bob, let's just assume this will be a camera, was being used by this shot, and so on. So let's just go back here. So first of all, That's the most visual way to understand it. If I want to see now all Ari Alexa, of course I can filter it by Ari Alexa, but I don't really have a way to see what are the shots I've been using with the camera Ari Alexa. So let's just go here to table 2 and delete everything here. So we can now list all our cameras down. Of course, now we would need to sort this out. So we would need here also something that says this is a camera actually, because here we store all our camera options. Here we can type in type, and here we can say this is a camera. So now we can select this is a camera, and to make it even more obvious, we can group it by type. So now we have all our cameras down here, and maybe we can add another type, and let's just say lens. Okay, so here we have our lens 35 and delete this one. We had red and we had 50. Now we have everything organized, but not only that, we can now include like images. We can include descriptions, because this is just a database for all the camera options. In order to keep it clean, let's delete this table here. Now we have those camera options, but we have to connect them. So all we need to do now is create a linked record. Of course, we want to connect it with the shot list. So let's just say, what do we want to connect? Do we need a lookup field? In our case, no. We will talk about it in a bit, but let's go back to shot list. Now, again, we have those two options here, but let's do it this way so that you understand what's going on. We have just this field here, camera options, but let's just call it camera and delete those two options here. And now we would need to create another linked record, because this time we are using here for this field lens. And now we also have to rename our field here, because now it's not just a camera, but it's basically all our camera options here. Now, this will create a lot of those linked records if we have more options here, but we don't need them, so we can just hide them for now. But what we can do now, so that we really understand what's going on, is let's just say we are using here, in this case, Ari Alexa and the lens, and let's drag those options. Maybe we create here another one. For this one, we are using the red and the 15. As I've mentioned, we can now click here and see, hey, we have with the Ari Alexa 2 images. Now we can click into the detail of this image here and see Ari Alexa generated this image. So that's the relationships. As I've mentioned, we can now add much more detail and start to see why it makes sense. For simple options like camera and lens, we can argue that's just overload. But what if we are adding more? Let's just say a look and feel. So we are now adding like the look here, and change the type here to look. We can name it something like Dune. We can add a prompt fragment. We go to create a new field and call it prompt fragment here. So what is a prompt fragment? Basically, think of it like a little snippet. Instead of having this huge, massive name, we can say, hey, if we select Dune, we can save our settings here inside. Assume this one would be now our setting, like epic, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And now we want to include this in our shot list here. So we have now the camera, we have now the lens, and now we can create and add the option here. But this time we are adding also a lookup field and the prompt segment. What it means basically is we are not interested just in the name. What we are interested in is the prompt segment. So let's just add now here our Dune setup. And now it's loading this little prompt fragment, okay? So now we can just select the look. So it's much cleaner. But what we are interested in is actually all of this text snippet so that we can build out really our prompt template. This is looking great. Okay, so now we can again ask AI to fix our formula here. Please fix our prompt now. Add the prompt plus camera plus lens plus the look and the prompt fragment, okay? So now AI is fixing it for us. And here we go. We have the look and the prompt fragment. Let's create the formula here. And here we go. We have our first prompt template. Okay. So now we have the woman in the field shot on our Alexa with a 35mm. And the look is Dune, epic, blah, blah, blah. So here we just insert the field now, prompt plus camera. Again, this is looking messy. We can clean this up. No worries about that. Now all we need to do is save it. Okay. We can recreate this one here, and we have recreated this one here. And as you can see, there was no magic, but you will see the results already improved. This was before, and now this is after. I think you can agree that this is looking 10 times better than this. Again, like we are just starting here. No worries, it will get even better. And here, of course, our images. This is basically what we have been asking for, right? If you like it or not is of course up to you, but yeah, you get the point here. Okay, now to the important details. How would it look like in the actual setup? The big picture. We need 3 tables: cinema option, shot list, and asset. Inside of assets, we can store our talent, clothing, and of course we can do the same that we just did before. So just to show you how complex it could get, and you can see now all those relationships make sense. Like a project maybe contains scene, a scene contains shots, a shot contains images. And again, like we have all those fields here, and our use case for today is much simpler. So if you are interested and you don't want to use Airtable, but you want to stick with Notion or Google Sheets, this is basically what you have to do. You have first to create camera options table with all those variables, and then you need to include prompt segments for those variables, like how should it act. You need a formula, something like this, so you can build it yourself. This is like a formula for Airtable, but AI is smart enough. You just do a screenshot here and ask it to write a formula for you for your Google Sheets. So again, you don't need to use Airtable for this. You can stick with whatever software you prefer. This is a simple prompt base, and you can always extend it. And that's the whole reason why I did this video, because you are then able to really extend it to however you like. So here inside, as I've mentioned, we have the camera body, the focal length, the lens type, the film stock, and so on. In terms of fields, we have the type, the prompt segment, the description, attachment, the reference image, and maybe the sort order, which you don't need. And then we hide all the linked records here, okay? Now, I'm not hiding anything. It's just like an overview here. I can open every setting here, but you can really ask GPT for help. You can ask Omni for help or Claude. This is then really up to you how you would like to set it up. Again, this is quite simple, and I believe you can really set this up. You can add the attachments here, the images, and some prompt fragments. Again, you don't need those prompt fragments on some of those types here, because if you have an anamorphic, maybe the name is fine enough. If you feel like it's not clear yet, then use the prompt segment. If you want to specify, like using this lens must contain flares and a creamy bokeh. So the options are there, and what you do with them is up to you. You see actually not that many fields here. It's just group by type. That's it. I don't even have views here because you can make this pretty and nice. Now, inside your shot list, all you have to do is arrange it however you like. It's quite simple. We have our subject and action. So what is the subject doing? And do we have a subject, yes or no? And then the environment. Again, you can keep it simple here, or maybe you want to bake in your environment as a camera option as well, because that has the advantage. Let's just say you want to have this crazy looking desert environment all covered in red with volcanoes, and you don't want to copy paste it all the time. You can save it as a setting, and now all you can do is arrange it however you like. You can start with the camera body, focal length. You need to create a link record to the camera options field, and so on. All those options here. This is just how you store and where you store your data. Keep in mind, you are always able to change the provider. Here you have 2 providers for the image model and 1 provider for the video model. For the image model, you have OpenAI and Google, that's it. And for the video model, you just have Google. But you can take the prompt and use whatever you like. Google Flow, Artlist, Higgsfield. This is then up to you and your preferred provider of choice here. So let's just go here to our shot list and copy a couple of shots. We can now paste it, maybe add more, and now we can just generate all those images here. So we can see it's quite fast and straightforward. Or if you are using Whisk, you upload your reference image and paste in a prompt. Or of course, like Google Flow, you can create a new project and do the same thing. And what we can do now is we just copy the prompt with the style, and we just go here and just generate it like this. So we can see we go from image to image, and we are able basically to apply one style for all the images. And while I'm copy pasting, it's already generating all those nice images for us with the style we just have defined. And I hope you can see that this is really speeding up the process here. And now let's switch the view here in Airtable. And as we can see, we have now those nice images. Character consistency is on point. The style grade looks amazing. Of course, it's the same model. Like we have Nano Banana here and we have Nano Banana there. Amazing style. The look and the feel is good. And once you have set up something like that, you can customize things. So let's say you want to know more about the camera. You have the camera, you have the related shots to this camera. And this makes it simple here. You can change the description, the camera type, and so on. I think I'm really giving here the simplest workable option that contains already most people actually asking for. You don't need a scene or a project or a client's field that is connected with too many tables. Instead, I gave this option here so that you understand what you can do. Your prompt engine is all set and ready for you. However, if you're looking for more customization and a sleeker interface, keep watching. Just a heads up, this part might get a bit advanced and could be confusing for some. Let's go to interface view. If you want to change any setting, just go to edit page at the left right corner. Now you can add more interface views, and inside you have all the options you can tweak and change. For example, if you want a different view, you can add a new view and that's it. If you want to change the default settings of this form, press add record. And all you need to do now is change the settings. Let's just say you want to change the look and feel. You have this default option. You can then choose the desired default option. If you want to change the layout of this specific view, click on it and you have all the options. Now, if you want to extend this further, what I would do is basically separate two interfaces. One interface you have here, let's say your content creation. The next interface, what I would do, but again, that gets too complex quite quick, is to add your settings interface where you are putting, let's just say, all the clothes, the locations, the talents, and all your assets, your prompts, everything where you store it. So I'm doing now a new interface. So here inside we can do a new interface and let's just call it settings. So let's just choose a layout. In this case, you know what? Let's just choose this one here, a record view. Let's just press next. And this time we are selecting assets. Let's go next for now. What we need is the file. So the file could be maybe a headshot of a person. And what we need is the camera sheet. Let's select other options here as well. And we can always deselect them. Now let's name this interface talents. Here we go. We have talents, and this is how it's usually looking like, quite ugly in the beginning. Now let's just customize it. So we have our file here, that could be our headshot. Then what is the asset type? Let's put it here on the side with the asset name, the status maybe, a little description could be there, and a character reference if we need that, and some tags, description, and link shots. Okay, let's build it like this. No worries, it will get better in a bit. Let's give those sections a name here. Let's call this one overview. This one, we don't need a name. Let's just leave it blank and just name it here character sheet maybe. Okay, we don't need a title here. And then maybe here all the informations, and here we can also give it a title and a background color, and this one here are the related shots. We can change this here so that we see also the talents, what shots are related to this talent. Now we want to change the view. Instead of a list view, let's do a gallery view. This is not looking nice yet, but no worries, we will get there. Now let's add a file. Let's make them all editable so you can edit those inside. Let's add a clean, nice looking profile image of our AI talent. And here we go, we have our attachment. Let's make it look bigger so that we have a nice overview. Now we can change how it's looking, make it fit or like that. Now we can give it some attributes. So what is it? An image, status, it's approved, and maybe here name. Let's give her a name, Leia. All right. And of course we can change it always. And now this one here, again, like that's like an image generator. So we just have to change it to editable. I already included the prompt here, so we can see the prompt again. So here, create a reference sheet based out of this file image. And now we go here to file. Let's generate this image. In the meanwhile, this is where Airtable becomes more complex because now we can give it rules. So for example, we would say, all right, this is a tag and this is a human, so a talent. We can say we don't need a character reference sheet if we have a logo, product, or location. We only need this to be visible if this talent is a talent. So inside we can add a rule and filter it and say go to tags and show only if this is a talent. Otherwise, don't show it. Now let's change how it's looking. I want it to be bigger so we can see the character reference, and choose if you like it full or image like this. This is already looking good, right? We have here our talent base under settings. So instead of uploading always new images, we can build like our talents, our locations. We can add then those information to our system prompts. So let's just say this one here is image to image, but reference from talents table or from assets table. Now we have this one here. So now what we want is on this playground, we want to add two new fields. One for assets, but everything non-talent related, and B, like for assets that are talent related. I'll show in a bit. Okay, so here inside, we can create the field, but to make it simpler for you to understand, let's go back to the database view, go to shot list here, and now we have the assets table. Okay, this is great because we can now include all the assets we need here. And we now want a lookup field. And what do we want? The file, okay? The file of the specific asset. And what else do we want here? We create a field. Now we want a lookup field, but this time we don't need the file, but the reference sheet from the talent. Again, if you're, for example, using product images or you want to use that for any product related shots, that's not the way to go. So you see, at a certain point, there are just too many options, too many ways, too many use cases, which is why it's hard to do it good for all people. But let's just use this one here. And now we have added those fields here. And when we go back to Playground, we can delete this reference image here because we don't need it in this view here. What we need instead is all related assets like locations, maybe clothes, and so on. You can now add more assets here. And talent. Now we can make it smaller here. So we need the lookup fields from the assets and the lookup field from the talent, right? Change the view. And now this here is what we are sending to the provider. And here we have all the settings. So let's rename this one here and call it settings. Now we can add the talent layer and pull in the reference. And because we have no further assets, let's add another asset. We can now just duplicate the space. Let's do it quick and dirty. Here, duplicate. This time we are calling it assets. Now we publish it. All we need to do under assets is basically here we have talents. Of course, we just want to see talents here. So then we just filter it. Filter by tags and we select talent. So now all we see is talent. We go to our other assets, filter, just go to tags, and now we do the opposite, is none of talent. So we basically do everything else but no talent, okay, in the space here. So all the other assets. Now we can add assets either through the database or through a form. But we have to create first a form. Let's just do it quick here. So we have the asset. We don't need this one here. So the asset name, asset type. We don't need status yet. A little description if we like. Tags for sure. Link shots, no. So now we have created the form. We can publish it. And now let's just add in some assets. Maybe clothes. So what is it? Like an image. What tag? Oh, we don't have any clothes yet, but let's just call it product for now. We can always change that. Let's upload some dummy clothes here, Balenciaga, some description. Nah, but we don't need yet. All right, we have here our clothes. And as mentioned, we don't see the character reference. It's not there anymore. What we now need maybe is, I don't know, background maybe. It's also an image. This time it's a background. And now let's go to the settings. So what is she doing? Let's just leave the settings here. Sony, the focal length is fine. Or let's just change the camera here. Cook is fine, look is fine, photorealistic is fine. And what is she doing? I don't know, standing. Before we are sending an image, we have to create another field. We create another field and now we are using build with an AI agent here. We select our image. We generate with Nano Banana Pro 3, image output, resolution 2K, aspect ratio, let's be more specific here, and we want always 16:9. So first we need our prompt. So we are inserting here our final prompts, our cinematography prompt. Because this is really just for this playground view, let's specify it here. Shot list, image to image, and it has reference talent plus assets, so that it's not adding more confusion. We have to create a specific image field for this. We cannot just use the other image fields we have created. Now, what we want is here is the base prompt, but we want to include some other instructions as well. Okay, so in addition to the prompt, what we want now is like really specific about our character or talent. So here inside, we are just adding here now our lookup, and we want now also our assets to be included. So file from assets. Now we are ready. This is our prompt, a photorealistic image. It's a combination of this whole formula, and we are specifying we want the character and the assets. So let's just generate, and here we go. We have the final image, we have the Balenciaga, and then we have the character, and we have the background. I hope it was clear. Balenciaga, background, and she is standing as we have basically here written down. Now again, those settings can be adjusted. We can change the style here, maybe more cinematic instead of just photorealistic. Change every setup, every lighting condition, everything. So who do we want to select? We want our talent Leia. She should be in those shots here. Now we don't want to include the tree, but maybe we want to include her clothes in this specific scene. Okay, and now we want to create all those images here with the settings, Dune, camera, Panavision. Okay, it's creating now. We have our characters, we have our clothes, and now let's just wait a bit. Beautiful. So now it's done, as we can see here. We have our character, we have the style, we have our beloved Balenciaga shirt here from all angles. Yeah, again, those prompts were completely nonsense because we were just asking GPT to write anything for us without reading them. But I think you get the point here. We have the shirt, the style, and so on. So you can really customize it. And once you understand everything and you really understand how it's working, you can even go here and press this tiny button here, run automatically, which I would not recommend if you have no idea what's happening. So please play around first before you hit this button. So what it's doing is every time those conditions are met, it's generating an image, which is absolutely great because now you can literally just like load hundreds of different variations if you like. And it's generating on scale, no waiting, but just pure efficiency here. But if you're interested to learn more about the complicated base, really the more extensive base where you can customize it much more with other providers, check out this other video here. I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.